I pay myself £1,234 and nine pence a month as a salary for my business that I built here on YouTube. Now, this amount of money gives me enough for my essentials, my non essentials, and disposable income at the end of the month. Now, if you're like my mate who I was explaining this to last week, you're probably thinking, how? So, in this video, we're going to do a deep dive into my budget, into my bills. We're going to see how it aligns with the budgeting formula that I talk about in my book, The Money Basics: How to Become Your Own Financial Hero. Literally everything in that book is what's got me to this stage right now. We're also going to talk a little bit about debt. We're going to talk a little bit about income and tax as well, because a lot of the reasons why I take income in this form is tax informed. And you can do the same as well if you run your own business. So I hope you get something from this. I'm sure that you will, but be sure to leave your comments down in the comments below, because I'm sure this will be very, very interesting. Shall we get started? So let's start with my budget and my monthly outgoings to start off with. Now, in my book, The Money Basics, I talk about a formula that I've adopted, and I've been using it now for the past 8 years or so, where we focus on essentials, non-essentials, and then the other part. And if you've read my book, you'll know exactly what I'm talking about. If you haven't, might be worthwhile picking up the book. But here are my bills right now, and I'm going to break them down into essentials and non-essentials, because those are the things that you have to cover on a monthly basis in order to feel as though you're living to some kind of, I don't know, normalcy, right? So here are my bills. So my rent, well, my mortgage is currently £518 and 96 pence. My mortgage is changing soon, so that's actually going to increase by about £210 a month. Now, my gas and my electric is £172 a month. I have RAC cover, which is breakdown cover, which is £19.50. My Sky a month is £99. Now, I do have a mobile phone, but I am on a SIM-only deal, and my SIM-only deal costs me around about £10 a month. Now, I can move into other things like I have an iTunes subscription, which is £8.99. I've got Spotify, which is £14.99. I've got Odeon, which is I guess, my guilty pleasure. I love going to the cinemas. £14.99. I've got an Amazon Prime subscription at £6.99. And I've also got life insurance at £21.40. Those are all of my outgoings. Now, if I were to separate these out into essentials and non-essentials, this is how I've categorized them. So my mortgage is an essential bill. My gas and electric is an essential bill. My RAC, I put that down as an essential bill. Some may put it in non-essential. My Sky, I put it as an essential at £99. My mobile phone, I put that down as an essential as well. I also put my life insurance cover down as an essential bill. All the others, which include iTunes, Spotify, Odeon, and Amazon Prime subscription, those are all non-essential bills. Now, when you add all of that up, my essentials come to £841 and 1 pence a month. My non-essentials come to £45 and 96 pence a month, which means that my total monthly outgoings are £886 and 97 pence. Now, if you're paying attention to this and you're trying to compare this with your own budget, you're going to notice some nuances here, which is what's worthwhile speaking about. So I haven't got things like council tax on my budget, because for me, I pay my council tax up front. I also don't have things like car insurance on my budget, because again, I pay for that up front. I pay for most things that might be recurring income, where I know it's a fixed amount, a fixed bill for the year. I pay majority of those things up front, because it means that I don't have to worry about the monthly payment of those bills. Now, I can do that because of my own financial practices. I have money set aside that I'm able to dip into when I need to. But my disposable income from what I pay myself based on my essentials and my non-essential bills coming out at £886 and 97 pounds a month is actually quite significant enough for me to be able to cover any surprises that might actually happen. Now, the other thing that you might notice here is the fact that I don't have any budgets for food. Now, in my household, I look after all of the major bills within the house, and my partner looks after the food budget. And the food budget is around about £100 a week, around about there. Now, it's really, really important to kind of note here that obviously I'm paying myself very, very little, and there are tax purposes for that. I mean, I have an accountant, I run my own business, and what I tend to do is I take as little as possible so I am able to keep below the personal allowance. Actually, my level at this point doesn't keep me below the personal allowance of 12,570. Actually, it's a little bit more. My salary that I take on an annual basis equates to about £14,809.08 a year, which means I'm paying tax on about £2,339.80 at 20%. So that means when I think about my tax liability for the income that I take as a salary, it comes to about £447.96 a year. Now, clearly, there are also some other things that you might notice on my budget that I don't have. So, I do not have any debt, and that's something that I've spoken about a number of times here on the channel. And it's taken me a long time to get here, considering that I struggled with debt for 15 years. I was laden with credit card, overdraft, personal loan debt. I mean, the first two, credit card and overdrafts, were the ones that I really, really struggled with and provided me with a lot of anxiety and depression back in the day. I've been able to break free from that cycle of debt. And I've been debt free now for, I want to say, about 8 years or so. It's been a long, long time. Now, does that mean that I don't have credit cards? I have credit cards, which I have an available balance on, but I rarely, rarely use these things. I will only use them, for example, if I'm making a large purchase and I want some consumer protection. That will be the only time that I use a credit card. And even then, I never allow a sitting balance to remain on the credit card. So I pay it off in full. But if I'm honest, I should probably use credit cards a little more than I should. But I don't, because I don't like the idea of owing money. And my experience with debt is one that isn't necessarily positive. So I try to steer away from it as much as possible. So I've been debt free apart from my mortgage now for 8 years. And recently, over the past month, I actually paid off about £46,000 on my mortgage to bring the balance down. And the goal for me is to pay off this mortgage in the next 2 years. And my budget and how I budget and pull income is going to be integral to that. So debts are really, really important. I've already mentioned before that my mortgage payment right now is £518.96. That is going to go up by £210 in November, because I'm going from a 1.49% interest rate mortgage fixed to a 4.75. So the extra £210 is going to be able to be absorbed in the disposable income that I have from the amount that I already pay myself. Now, if that wasn't the case, I would simply just take more money from the business as a salary, potentially increasing my tax liability as well for the year, which is absolutely fine. But at this point in time, I don't really need to do that. Now, the other thing that is worthwhile talking about here is emergency fund. I talk about this in my book. It is fundamental. It's an essential need that we all should have. And it took me a long, long time, really, growing up and trying to figure out money as an adult, um, how to build an emergency fund. I knew that it was worthwhile, and I just didn't know how to do it. There was a lot of behavioral stuff, cognitive dissonance around why I knew that I needed one, but I couldn't quite do it. Those two things didn't match up, and I struggled with it for a very, very long time. But currently, as it sits, based on my salary of £1,234.09, I have about 18 months worth of emergency fund available to me. So if anything were to happen to my business, I know that I'll be able to take the same level of salary over an extended period of time. Now, with emergency funds, we do talk about this all the time. And, the numbers that you'll hear out there is that you should have 6, 9, or even 3 months worth of your essential spend in a fund that you can access all the time. Now, the reason why I based it off my salary is because my salary is true to my budgeting formula. So covering the essentials, the non-essentials, and giving me something in a third pot called other, which, if you read the book, is all about helping you build for the future. You might want to save for a deposit. You might want to invest for the future to create wealth. You might want to start a business. You might need seed money for that. The third pot is where you're able to make that happen. So for me currently, where I do have disposable income, that doesn't necessarily go into my other pot. What it does, it allows me to just enjoy myself, and I spend it on, if we want to have a weekend away or if we want to eat out, I use it for that. Now, my other pot comes from when I take dividends, and this allows me to really go on to speak a little bit about income. Now, I've been on YouTube for about 3 years. 2024 will be the start of the fourth year on YouTube, and it has definitely been a journey. Now, my business is based around this YouTube channel right here, and plugged onto that, there are probably about 6 or 7 other income streams that I have combined into this. Now, from an income point of view, my business generates somewhere between 10 and maybe 15K a month on a good month. But my run rate typically averages around about £10,000 a month. Now, for me, I am self employed. So I've got to think about my personal tax. I've got to think about my corporation tax. And how I operate, because I like to be financially responsible, is I don't like the idea of ripping out all of the money from my business, because then that complicates the business position, right? It complicates the fact that I've got to do VAT returns. I've also got to think about corporation tax, and all of those things I like to be prepared ahead of time for. So I run my business with a lot of cash in the business. And what I will do as a business owner is I will take dividends. So, for example, this year so far, I've taken £32,000 worth of dividends. And that puts me within the basic rate tax paying threshold for dividends, which is currently, let me just make sure I get this right, which is currently 8.75%. So when I think about the efficiency of tax, and this is if you're self-employed running your own business, tax and having an accountant is very, very important to make sure that you're being as tax efficient as possible. I talk about this all the time when we talk about investing and saving money, tax efficiency first. The same thing applies to your income. You should be thinking about tax efficiency first, especially if you are a business owner. If I'd taken total at the moment, as of where we are this year, I think I've taken a total of £46,809. Now, I'm very, very close to the next tax threshold, which is around about 50,270 or so, I believe. I'd be entering into the 40% tax bracket. But even so, at £46,000 or just under £47,000, if I'd taken all of that money as a salary, I'd be paying 20% tax. By combining taking a small amount in salary and the rest in dividends, I'm able to manage my tax position more effectively. And by rough calculations at this point in time, based on the income and the dividends that I've taken so far from the business, well, when I say income, that's salary and dividends, I've been able to save myself £3,687 in tax at this point in time. I'm due to maybe take another round of dividends at some point before the new tax year ends in April 2024. That's just a very, very brief deep dive into my own personal finances. If you are watching this and you're thinking, well, it will be great to be in this position, and you may be thinking this is all about frugality. I'm not one for frugality. I think that, money is a tool, life is for living. You have to be able to use money to help you live the life that you want. But first, you need to have an idea of the kind of life you want to live. I mean, I don't necessarily feel as though I can't treat myself, and I do treat myself. I have very nice things. I've got a Tesla out parked out front, which I've had for some time now, but it's a beautiful car. I enjoy it. It gets me from A to B. I enjoy nice things. I treat myself often to new things when I reach milestones. I was recently thinking about buying another Rolex, but I'm not going to do that. I'm going to be investing it into myself, doing something else instead. I don't think frugality is necessarily the answer to everything. What I do believe is the answer to everything, though, is having a clear idea of what you want your money to do for you, and through budgeting, be intentional with your money. And this is the one thing that I've learned the hard way through my 15 years in financial services, and certainly through my 43 years on this planet, is that when it comes to money, you often don't need as much as you think that you need in order to live the life that you want. The reason why people often aim for large sums of money is because they have wastage. And one of the things that I've been able to do is be able to basically get rid of all of the wastage. The burden that a lot of people struggle with is debt. and debt is a drain on your income. It's a really important thing for you to address, because if you don't, you're never going to be able to be in a position where you're going to feel financially secure. Now, I did a video on the podcast where I talked about the 8 steps to financial security, and if you've not watched the video, I'll put a card up to it right there. You should go and watch it. I also talk about where I am on the journey. I'm on the cusp of 4 and 5 right now. Where I am on that journey is I'm currently in the phase of a comfortable lifestyle. And that's where I truly believe that a lot of people, if they get here, will they will think differently about the world. And certainly starting to think differently about the world. I can go on nice holidays, I can do nice things, but I've been intentional with it. And if you take anything from this video, and I guess my call to action to you is to be intentional with your money and the decisions that you make. Be intentional with how you spend your money, where you send your money to, by being clear on what kind of life do you want to live. And more importantly, try to address some of the demons that you might have. We all struggle with our behavioral patterns. We all have habits that are ingrained within us, and those things are informed by our beliefs. And unless we get to that root, we're never going to be able to fix the larger problem. It's literally like trying to kill a weed, but you're not taking out the roots. You have to address the roots. But anyway, there we are. I hope you found this informative. Let me know if you have any questions down below in the comments. I'm sure that there will be. I'll catch you later on.